Hello, everyone. This is Alan Whitford from RCEURO.com, bringing you another in our series of recruitment thought leader conversations, particularly talking about the upcoming Social Recruiting Conference on the 30th of June in London. Today, we're honored to be speaking with Isabelle Hung. Hi, Isabelle. How are you?
Hi, I'm good today.
Great. Izzy, you and I met first time, I guess, you were at Yale.com, and then we met again when you were at Harrods, which you recently left. Of course, after they had a great success at the Recruiter Awards this month, didn't they?
Yeah, it's really whilst I'm not at Harrods anymore, it's really amazing to see the team actually be rewarded for all of their hard work. I'm absolutely so proud. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's a great feeling for that sort of turnaround in terms of getting great candidate experience, which I know is something you're really keen about.
Yeah.
So, for those that may not have run into you, why don't you just do a little bit about who are you and what are you up to these days?
Okay, so I was recently head of resourcing at Harrods, and prior to that at Yale, as Alan has said. I am now a single consultant on my own, working for my own business called Lompiaire. It's a long story, so I'm not going to explain where that name from. I'm sure if I see people, they can ask. And I'm really passionate about making sure resourcing is tied together. So lots of people do lots of little things or big things, but they don't tend to tie all the subject matters together. And I want to make resourcing more effective for people and pass on all the knowledge that I've learnt along the years to other people.
So, what's your experience been with sort of the corporate recruiting and direct sourcing in the UK? Because certainly we've seen in the US that, when you look at Jerry Crispin's numbers for hires that are done direct and via referrals are really phenomenal. And yet we seem to see here there's still massive reliance on agencies. Is that part of what you're seeing?
Yeah, and I'm still amazed by how many companies are still, really using agencies all the way through. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely believe that there is a time and a place for the agency, and you need to make sure that you partner well with them. But to me nowadays, direct sourcing is so easy to do if you just spend the time doing it. Unfortunately, people think it's a quick win, but it takes a bit of focus and time to get it right. But the rewards are amazing.
Well, and I think you're right about the multiple channels. For the years that I've been involved in recruitment, we've always talked about having to have a blend of sources.
Absolutely.
But you're right. So many companies say, well, I only need to do two things: call my recruitment ad agency and call my recruitment consultancy, and I'm good to go.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is that as marketing teams have got more engaged with employee brand, etc., in the companies that are doing it well, marketing and resourcing are very close allies. And that works incredibly well, particularly with the employee referral programs. Actually being able to deliver that from an internal perspective through your own creative teams makes it really effective.
Well, I think you're right, particularly if you're working for companies as you have with Yale or Harrods that already have a great brand to begin with. I think it's often a shame how companies with those brands don't really maximize it in the employment market.
Yeah, I think, like anything, if you use too much of your in-house teams, it becomes one direction. And having the balance, and definitely when I was at Harrods, the creative team and my external partner, Pink Squid did a lot, TMP, having the balance is important to keep that creativity and innovation alive.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Now, we're going to talk about social media because we can't help but talk about it these days, can we?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I have become obsessed by it, but I also believe that people become a bit over obsessed with tweeting out, where they are at a certain minute of the day. I think there needs to be a bit of a change around how much we tweet out.
Well, it's hard though if you think about when these guys first started Twitter. That's really what it was about, wasn't it? It was
I know.
hey, look at me, here I am.
Yeah, it does make me laugh. It's like my partner bought me an iPad for my birthday last July, and in the morning it's under my pillow, it's there at night. And it's like, oh my god, this is like we've had a techno ban across the table at dinner.
Right. Well, you came to our first social recruiting conference last November as one of the delegates. What were your impressions then? And you were one of our early adopters, early sign-ups for this year's event. What were your thoughts about last year, and what are you looking forward to this year?
Last year was amazing, and obviously Matt Jeffries opening it was absolutely, it's brilliant. He's very charismatic, and he pushes the boundaries on what is really out there, and I think that's great from a starting perspective. I really enjoyed the speakers, like Saab Miller, Jennifer, and with Ted, because it gave people a real understanding of how to actually implement that rather than just talk about it. And I think, that was great about your conference. I learned so much and have taken that to my clients to help them understand it.
Well, I appreciate it, and you're right. And that was Teddy Mullenkamp from Roche and Jennifer from SAB Miller, who's off on maternity leave now, so she can't make it to this year's conference, unfortunately. But you're right. I think that's the thing that Vic and I thought about when we decided to run these events, is that there was an awful lot of people like me standing on stages saying, this is Facebook, this is LinkedIn, this is what you can do in social. And we weren't seeing enough people actually standing up saying, hey, this is what I've done, warts and all. These were my challenges. This is where we made mistakes, and this is where we've had some success.
Yeah, I would say that was the plus point for me. Whilst I was using it within Harrods in a minor way, actually the lessons from the conference have really supported me with implementing it with other clients. Yeah, definitely.
All right, and I think it's something we're trying to do again this year. Again, we're trying to do a bit of a mixed bag of people. Paul Maxon, who is global recruiting strategy at Unilever, even though they have outsourced a lot of the day-to-day stuff, through to Kezia, who was on one of the panels last year from Accenture. This year she's going to do a full presentation, and we've got people coming from France, Société Générale, from Israel, from Intel. We got Michelle coming down from Sweden. So we're trying to get some views from around Europe as well.
And I think as Matt said in his video, the tweeting wall is quite interesting because everybody has very different opinions, but they're all thinking about the same thing.
Yep.
And I think one of the things that's very key with social media is definitely the fact that we're all doing it, but we're all doing it in different ways that fit our brands.
Well, I think you're quite right about that, and it was something we were a little nervous about. For our listeners who don't know, we actually ran the full tweet wall on either side of the main presentation window, if you will, on the stage. We have a couple of people again this year that are going to be full-time tweeting and blogging throughout the day. But what I found interesting is that during the day, about 2/3 of the audience also tweeted during the event.
Yeah.
So they were active, tweeting to people sitting next to them, probably.
Yeah, I think also people in social media and in your conference really want to learn more, and therefore engage with each other without feeling that normal conference vibe of, oh, I don't know how to approach you. People are much more approachable.
Well, you're right, and I think I've always tried to use that as well as a chairman, trying to get people to answer questions. And I know often people are a little bit nervous about putting their hand up in an audience. But if they've tweeted it, I can look up and go, well, look, there was a question from Bob who wants to know, and I can then relay that, and Bob can kind of sit there and go, okay, I'm all right.
Yeah, I agree. It's great. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm particularly looking forward to the diversity of it because you've got technology companies as well as Unilever, who's massive. I think it would be really interesting to see what other people are doing.
Well, and as a techno person now, what's your thought around mobile? Because we've got Katie McNabb coming from PepsiCo to talk about their rollout of mobile apps across Europe. It's already been quite successful that Chris Hoyt has done for them in the U.S. What's your thought around mobile?
It's definitely somewhere that everybody's going to. My partner's a project manager in digital, and they're doing a huge amount in it. Everybody's launching apps. Harrods just launched their own app. I think it's brilliant. I've not done anything with it yet, so I've yet to experience.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see what Katie has to say, and I know that a couple of people that are going to come as delegates are also looking at it, and they want to talk about mobile, not just from the app, but from the website itself. And certainly I think that's one of the challenges. As with other parts of social, people jump into one piece, but without having what's really required to get it in, aren't they?
And I think mobile is one of those things. Who's the target marketplace at the end of the day? We all think everybody's got an iPhone or an HTC or whatever, Android, but who has got that at the end of the day? And is the capability there immediately?
Well, I think you're right. I spoke at a conference or a sort of a seminar for accountants a couple of weeks ago, and I asked them how many of them actually had who didn't have a smartphone, and actually only 3 or 4 didn't have a smartphone.
Okay.
But none of them were using Facebook for employment-related purposes. They absolutely were not using Twitter, and a few were using LinkedIn. So I think we have a long way to go yet with social.
But I think it's an exciting journey because everybody's getting on it now, and you see it every day with LinkedIn, how many more people are joining.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be quite an interesting time going ahead for us. So what else are you looking forward to, either from the event or just in general? How do you see things the next few months?
I think this year is going to be really interesting for the recruitment resourcing spectrum. everybody's getting on the direct sourcing. That everyone I speak to is going, come and help me with direct sourcing. And I think it'd be interesting to see what comes out of that in terms of people's reduction of agencies. Are we going to see less agencies? Are our agency partners going to change their model? I've got a lot of agencies that are saying to me, how do I change my fee structure to be something very different? I think this year will be really interesting. I think people now have a bit more budget. So I think we're going to see more creativity this year. And I'm really interested to see what happens.
Well, I think it is going to be interesting, and one of our panelists in the afternoon is Julie Cochran from Capita Resourcing, and I think it's interesting to get their view too in terms of, well, what are they going to do to adjust to this? So I think there's some great opportunities for the consultancy marketplace to be delivering social media services to their customers.
Yeah, I also think that whilst everyone's got ATS systems in the norm, people are now moving to actually the CRM. How do I think about my candidates 6 months before they get to me? How do I market to them slightly differently now that we actually are able to see them before they get to us? I think that's interesting. There's some great software out there that allows you to do that.
Well, you're right, and I think it's going to be interesting seeing how that continues to play out. Well, I think you and I could probably talk for another 30 or 40 minutes here, but we'll spare our viewers the long Isabelle and Alan conversation. How can people find you? What's the best way for them to get hold of you?
LinkedIn is a really quick way. We put Isabelle Hung in, or Lompiaire, but it's very difficult to spell. So I can be found pretty much anywhere on the web.
Okay. Well, now see, perfectly social example, aren't we?
Great.
All right. Thanks very much today for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing you next month. We may even get together for that cup of coffee before then.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks a lot, Izzy.
All right, and then take care.
Thanks. Bye.